What would be your advice for a beginner developer as far as how to keep up the drive and passion without burning yourself out? Asks Squishy Squidly. Advice for a beginning developer. Um, if you're talking about making a new game, I think like the best advice that I could give for that is to not choose your big dream project as your first project because it takes a lot of energy and effort to learn new things, especially like, it can be very frustrating when something doesn't work out. So if you have an idea and you're super pumped about it, but then you spend like 2 weeks fixing a bug or learning how to do some simple thing, a lot of times it's very draining. So I feel like if you pick like smaller projects to kind of learn how to do what you want to do and then do your dream project or your gigantic project, then I think that that's really important. I think another thing to not get burned out and to keep your passion for it is actually like a really basic thing, which is take care of your health. Because there's, like a lot of times I don't get enough sleep and, or if you don't eat healthy or you don't get enough exercise and stuff like that, it really affects, I think, that part of your brain that helps you with creative energy. So like eating healthy, walking as much as you can, drinking enough water, getting enough sleep, I think is really important. And also lastly, just doing a lot of different things and having new experiences and adventures. Because I find that like after I go on like a big trip or I'm trying something new, or if I have like a really great interaction with a bunch of different people, then I'll have like music playing in my head afterwards, or I'll have like story ideas. So I think that keeping busy, having new adventures, like all that stuff is very helpful as well. Any advice for getting into professional game dev? I want to like ask follow-up questions so I can answer your question as best as possible, but I think I'm like super behind in the chat. I would ask, what type of game? Do you mean game development like programming, or do you mean like making games like as an independent developer or with a company? Because I would have different advice based on each one of those. But I feel like more blanket advice is like figure out what type of game you're interested in making. If you have one, if you have a story that you want to tell, if you really, really want to make a platformer, if you have like, a unique game mechanic, that you want to do, I would think about specifically like what kind of stuff you want to do. I think I've heard often this advice is that prototyping is very, very important. And it's good if you don't want to code something entirely from the ground up, or even if you do, software like Game Maker is really great because you can prototype your game and see if like a gameplay mechanic is fun or not, like right off the bat. And that way you save time because there's a lot of people who will do a bunch of art assets first, and a bunch of, other assets before they actually test it out. And then when they prototype it, they're like, oh no, this is not fun. And then they kind of end up scrapping a lot of stuff. So I feel like proof of concept early is really, really good. It's a really wise thing to do. If you have like an RPG that you want to make, or something like that. Like I really actually like RPG Maker because it helps you get up and running faster. And there's a lot of placeholder assets that you can use, and then you can swap out for original stuff later. Hey Laura, when were you developing Rockwin? When you were developing Rockwin, did you ever get burnt out? You inspired me to enter game development earlier this year. I went for a hard month or two, but eventually the programming challenges became a bit overwhelming. Interested to hear your advice. Let's see. Burnt out, like I got really, really exhausted. And there were times when I got like creatively stuck on things. I think especially like in the beginning, like the gameplay style kept changing. Like at first it was sort of a crafting game, and then it changed into like a JRPG, and then finally I settled on like the point and click adventure style because I actually really like point and click adventure games. I like puzzles, and I don't know, I just like that kind of stuff, and I think it fit best for talking to people and stuff. And I remember during that process I got kind of frustrated and tired, and not knowing what to do because I kept actually remaking the first part of the game over and over and over again. There were also parts like after I finished the first couple arcs, like after I got through Tony's section, where I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do for the last part. or like how I wanted to structure it, because I had like an idea in mind, but I have this thing where when I play like games, like especially JRPGs, in the beginning, I want to have more gameplay so that I can get invested in the world. And then later, once I know everyone and I want to find out what happens, I don't want gameplay. I just want story and exposition. So what I wanted to do is kind of weight it so there was more puzzles and exploration and gameplay in the beginning, and then more story at the end. And figuring out how to organize all that, I got stuck a lot. But I think the closest thing to being burned out or like having a mental breakdown or something actually came at the end. It was like the last few months. Like I felt that we were in crunch time for a really long time. Um, because yeah, there's just task after task after task, and wearing lots of different hats. Like one day I'd be fixing a bug that was taking a really long time to do. Another day I'd have to jump in and try to help with like the pixel art stuff. Another day I would be working on like some music. So there was like always so much stuff to do, and it was never ending. And I was waking up pretty early, and like going to bed really, really late. So I was working from like 8 in the morning until like 2, 3 at night. So the people that were with me at that time, like we had a little like a secret Libel chat, we called it, where people were helping out with stuff, and they would be like, Laura, go to bed, get some rest. And I think at that time I felt pretty like tired and pretty burnt out from all of that. But I just had to kind of push through and finish it. So advice for how not to get burned out. I think that like before you jump into something that you're going to commit like years and years of your life to, make sure that one, it's something that you're super passionate about, like if you're going to do a project like that, because you'll need it. You'll need that like energy and emotion to kind of carry you through. Two, a healthy work-life balance I think is very important. So to try to mitigate what's going on, I try to make sure to eat healthy foods, dark leafy green vegetables, drink enough water, have like balanced meals, and I would really try hard to go for a walk every day, even if yeah, even if it was like something where I really wanted to fix something, I would force myself to go take a walk. Talk to people. I'm actually an extrovert, and I was very like cooped up, and I think I actually became more introverted because I was so focused on what I was doing. But I think people need people. So whether you're an extrovert or introvert, go spend time with someone in your family, or a good friend of yours, just to take your mind off things for a while. And I think that's probably the best. Those are some good tips. Take care of yourself. Don't become a total hermit like I did. And just make sure before you start out that it's something you want to be working on for a long time, and push through. Like I say, every pebble that you put down, every little tiny stone, eventually you're going to get that mountain. You just have to stick with it. Like I think finishing a game is a lot about just sticking with it, and like doing the hard work, and just think about the end result and how happy you'll be when someone gets to experience it, and if there's a story you want to tell, like how great it'll feel if someone connects with it. So hopefully that's good advice.